Okay, so this is going to be a quick market update, and let's just start with Bitcoin, and then we'll move on to some altcoins, right? So on the monthly, we're just about nearing the monthly close, and the two levels that are really important to me are the previous month high and the quarterly open. The reason previous month high is very important is because this is usually where price starts to respect things. The reason I was really cautious a few days ago was because we were nearing August high and we kept kind of swerving around it. And if you look at our current range right now, this is why I was not calling this entire price action here a downtrend, but rather just a range, is because you essentially have this sort of range high that was created at our all-time high, by the way, and then you have this range low. Okay, now throughout this entire range, we kept on swerving below the range low, quote unquote range low, and then we kept moving back up, right? This is why during September Open, you already know that I was really bullish. So once we came to this wick, 52.5, 53, I bought a lot of spot and then I rode it all the way up to quarterly open. And this is where I was cautious. The reason I was cautious for quarterly open is because on the weekly chart, there was a very real possibility of us making a sort of lower high. Because if you look at these marginal highs, like we take some internal liquidity and leave the external liquidity. Here, the external liquidity comes down here. We did not sweep that, but we swept this high, right? Same thing happens here. And I was expecting, the reason I kind of de-risked around the quarterly open was because I was expecting that we do something like this, which can still happen. But the way that we are pushing ahead right now, especially through flows, which we'll talk about in a second, is what made me bullish. And that's kind of the reason why, a lot of people talking to me recently on the Telegram group, they're, why were you bearish yesterday and now you're suddenly bullish? Like we caught the short that was there to be caught, right? We caught this daily candle and this was almost like a 1.5% short that we caught. But the reason I am bullish, and I got bullish as of one day ago, if you remember my post, I kept talking about how 65K is easy, we're pushing to 65K, and that was somewhere around 63.5Ks, right? The reason for that is this compression that you see here. So we've been leaving a lot of lows down here. Like all of this technically should have been flushed, and then we move up. But this is the most bullish outcome where you have a lot of buy volume stepping in, and then we continue to move up, right? If you look at like the previous tops, now this is just on Bybit, you'll see a lot more of this on Binance where a lot more volume is there. We have this buy volume right here, and then once we get to the actual top, it's like pretty much flat, right? So that is where you know that okay, the trend is slowing a little bit, right? Again, like we if you look at these tops, like no push through, no volume. And now what we're seeing that even though it's lower on a relative time frame, once we got to these highs, you see this consistent buy volume showing up throughout this range. And this was my reason for being bullish all the way up to the quarterly open. Now I was expecting some sort of a move down here was possible, but once we break through, this is when you know that okay, like we're in a trending environment. It's very probable that we pull back at some point, but I don't think that pullback is now going to send us anywhere below these lows, right? That is, never say never, but as a trader, you have to explore all possibilities, and the current possibilities point towards us making some sort of higher highs now. I expect some kind of move down during October, because as we did in September, right, a lot of people thought that it's a really bearish month and they were really scared to buy around these levels, and we kind of faded that. I want to fade the same sentiment in October. So, the first week of October, if we pull back, if we take these lows, we don't necessarily have to come back down. We could just come down to 63.5 or so, and then we can continue up. That will be the time that I really bid heavily on altcoins, right? And just to show you what I've been talking about, now I've taken a slightly higher time frame chart for this. If you look at this move up, this is the volume that I'm talking about, right? So this is like 1,000. This small candle here, it's barely 0.3%, barely a 0.3% move. Now this small candle here was caused by 1,200 BTC being bought on Binance, and this is within 30 minutes. And then immediate follow through, another 1,000 BTC bought here, market bought. The reason I was really bullish today, if you saw my Twitter post before PC, so we had some data, and then we had this kind of news failure pattern. But the moment you start to see like 700, 800 Bitcoin buys come in, especially on Coinbase and Binance, those spot buying is enough to push us up. Okay. And this is what happens in an uptrend. Like what happened in my personal case was that, let's go to a lower time frame so that I can explain that scenario. Yeah. So, the moment I sized down on shorts was when we kept leaving these lows like this. And this is a bearish sign, but this is what happens when a vicious uptrend starts. Now, here, we can always form some sort of deviation. But once we have taken out all of the selling, like passive selling that was available here. The reason we had these 1000 BTC buys push us up is because we had a lot of asks led around here. And now once you push through that, a normal range trading mindset tells you that, okay, so a lot of asks were filled here and then now we follow through down. But if this is a bull run and if this is a vicious uptrend, and that's what's happening right now, this volume, this buy volume comes in every single day, right? So the buy volume pushes us up. We start chopping because a lot of like the sellers will move their ass up and then the buyers will move their bids up. So whoever wanted to buy at 61.9 through limit orders, they move their limit orders up. Whoever wanted to sell here and got scared, they push their ass up, right? So this kind of reformulation of sells and buys at limit orders happens. And if this is a vicious uptrend, which it does look like, and which is the reason why I've been long biased for 2.5 days now, is because this kind of buy pressure comes in again and again. Like, there you see it again. Like, in the time that I'm talking about, we see that. And this is why, if we look at our range, like a lot of people are complaining about open interest, but open interest is pretty much flat. This is Binance, by the way. So if you look at Binance open interest, which is the most liquid exchange, previously we saw a lot of selling at the lows and then we saw a lot of buying at the highs. But this time, the moment we had some spot buying come in, all of the selling pressure up here was just burst through, right? So this is why we are bullish until proven otherwise. I do expect some sort of a pullback come October, but that is just something that will be necessary for trend continuation, because I don't believe that we see a massive pullback anytime soon, as long as the buy pressure that's coming continues forward, okay? So be prepared for a scenario where we come in and take these lows, and this is where you will get a large amount of liquidations. And if we start coming back above this quarterly open, because essentially October is a new quarterly open as well, right? So if the new quarterly open is down and then back above the quarterly open, that is when you have to gig along everything, right? And this is the signal here. Like, this is the kind of trade that we are talking about, and just the inverse of quarter three. So what happened initially was that we had a push up, and this is coming off of a strong rally, right? We had a push up, and then we had a lower time frame sweep, and then we came back below quarterly open. Then it's your signal that price is going to go down. So when the quarterly open takes place, that is when you want to slap on your quarterly VWAP, and then you want to look at this kind of price action there, right? The moment you have this kind of quarterly open, price starts rejecting from VWAPs, you have a signal, okay, price is going to go down. I expect some sort of an inverse for this in October, okay? So if you get a dip in October, it's probably for buying. Same thing with the quarterly open in quarter two, price open, price dumped, and then we kind of, the moment we reclaim these bands, this is actually a pretty nice long, right? This is a 10% move. Later on, we dumped, but this is, for the first few days of any quarter, this trade works out really well. Same thing in quarter one, where price initially just pumped off of this. But then if you use this quarterly open as some sort of an SR, the moment price started closing below this, and then we lost these bands, the moment you lose your VWAP bands is your turn to short. You reclaim this, and the moment you start reclaiming this with force, you reclaim the quarterly open, and then you reclaim the VWAP. This is your signal to long. So keep an eye out for this in October, and that's my trading plans for Bitcoin.